Я подтверждение ситуации передаю на стройку. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, AK Leadheads, we are back with another episode of the Talking Lead AK Corner, Season 3. This is Episode 2. We're going to have a great time today. We've got none other than the gang from Atlas Defense / Meaux Guns. Got Joe Meaux in the house. Joe, welcome in.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having us again.
And we got the right hand of the devil, my counterpart, Charles Watson, joining us. Charles.
Glad to be here, as always.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you guys. It's been a while since I've had you on, and I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a good show. And then, of course, my partner in crime for the AK Corner is Brian Keeney, all the way from Moscow. Which one is it?
Moscow, Idaho.
Okay, you hate it when I say it one way, so.
Well, you're
Moscow.
just not talking about here. You know, it's funny, but, everybody says, no, Moscow's in Russia. Well, if you hear a Russian pronounce Moscow or Moscow, they'll say it's much closer to Moscow. So it's one of them double backflip kind of things. But happy to be here again.
Yes, sir, with Auckland Defense Solutions. Brian's going to be joining me here in just a few days in Nashville, Tennessee. We've got the 212 Talking Lead and Auckland Defense. We kind of threw this in last minute. You guys surprised me with it, but we're going to have a AK rifle training course here in Nashville. And then Brian is going to be doing an added course to that where he's going to do some AK smithing and tips and tricks on taking it apart, putting it back together, cleaning it, kind of stuff. So that's going to be a added bonus for the ones who are attending.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, we'll have a good time. Care and feeding of the AK is what I'm tentatively calling it here. Kind of a introductory armorers course. The things that typically go wrong, which usually involve Loctite. And how to disassemble your bolt, how to get it back together, how to check it. I actually have, you guys will appreciate this, and maybe we could talk about it a little bit, but we're seeing some really junky ammo these days. I'm going to hold this up to the camera, so unfortunately the listeners won't be able to see it, but if you guys can see the particles.
That.
Yeah, there's a bunch of particles that look kind of like red pepper flakes here that came in from a customer's bolt. And they said their bolt stopped working. And I said, uh-oh, send it in. And send it in, and I see this brass fleck in the firing pin channel. I'm like, that looks like a primer. And I get the thing apart, and there are no less than like 8 primers in this firing pin channel, which the only way I can think of that happening is if the charge is massively overpowered, blowing the primer into the, extruding the primer into the firing pin channel. And so, stuff like that. Like, your gun might be great, but if your ammo isn't, you might need to strip your bolt. So it's going to be stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not made for ballistic rockets, is it?
No. Do not put C4 in your reloads.
Yeah, well, we're going to have some impending issues that Brian might be able to help. Apparently, it's going to be 18 degrees here this coming Sunday.
In Baton Rouge?
Yep, and up at the ranch,
that's unheard
it's going to
of.
be 16 degrees.
That is unheard of.
Yep.
Stuff starts dying down where you're at. A lot of stuff starts dying down there, like a lot of stuff.
Well, I tell you what can help.
We got to figure out what to do with all the citrus, but I've decided that basically I keep 545 here at home, and I'm keeping 7.62 by 39 at our ulterior northern bug out location. So I got to make sure that I got some good by 39 up there. I got some Yugo stuff, but I need to get some of that Polar certified stuff.
Polar certified. Throw a little Cosmoline on there. Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. That'll store it.
Question for Brian.
What's the biggest hammer on your AK repair bench?
Oh boy, it is maybe 8 ounces, 10 ounces at most. We use pretty small hammers around here. Most of them have Delrin faces. They're made by Halder, Halder, and they're a dead blow, German dead blow mallet that's got a Delrin face, and we love them. And I have a feeling that Charles thinks that's too small a hammer. It would just be my suspicion.
Yeah, probably a little bit. My hammer marked Science is about a 3-pound engineer's maul. So
I love your Science hammer. Yeah.
Hammer.
Yeah.
Well, Charles's nickname is either drill bit or hammer, depending on the most recent destructive device.
I mean, that's either a good thing or a bad thing.
Brian gets to make all his own parts, so he can make sure the tolerances aren't idiotic.
So Zach was going to join us, Zach Hall, and he's got shitty internet connection, he said. So maybe he'll jump on a little bit later, but I think I made an announcement a few episodes back. But Charlie, would you let everybody know what's going on with Zach and that website that they can go to?
Zach was diagnosed recently with stage 4 cancer, and so that he has been undergoing chemotherapy, and just we're trying to support him as best we can. There's been a couple of websites out there. There's been some raffles. The actual website itself, Joe, do you have it off the top of your head?
I don't think there's a website other than the
I know there's a PayPal account.
GoFundMe. There's a GoFundMe, but definitely I think the PayPal one. And Marty, can you can probably put that up somewhere, huh?
Yeah, I'll definitely put a link to it in the show notes.
But there's the GoFundMe.
Yeah, the HTTP, it's paypal.me/ is this the right one? Vincent Designs?
That was the one that Joe Vincent, one of our local guys here, he set up a really beautiful flag mural. He's one of our custom painters. Whenever we get the real wild and crazy requests, he comes in and does that paint work as far as the Cerakote on the guns. But he's a really talented pinstripe artist and airbrusher. And he did some big U.S. flags and a 1776 flag and raffled those. So that's his.
Yeah, those were orders. We actually raised a good bit of money for Zach with those, and one of our local people won it. It was really a kind of a neat deal. His ability to do pinstriping by hand is crazy.
Well, he has a PayPal that goes direct, but here's the GoFundMe. Zach stage 4 colon cancer. If you do a search for it
on GoFundMe, okay.
GoFundMe, Zach Hall.
Stage 4 colon cancer.
I mean, it's a URL, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but that's the search that'll get you there for PayPal if somebody wanted to donate. We'd really appreciate it. I know he does. Zach's stage 4 colon cancer, somewhere in that area. That search will get you there on PayPal.
Yeah, well, Zach's been my lead designer and suppressor guru for, I believe it was 9-ish years this October.
It's been 9 years?
This coming October. So he's been with me a very, very long time.
Yeah, and he was on, for you avid AK Corner listeners, you know that he was on Season 2, Episode 3, where we talked about suppressing the AK. We had Mike Pappas, Curtis Hallstrom was on that, and of course Brian was joining us for that too. So we're going to miss him today, but yes, you lead heads, definitely go check out the GoFundMe account, and then I'll put a link to the PayPal, and if we find it during the show, we'll read it off during the show too, and give you a link to it there.
We're going to be doing a raffle probably starting next week to give away one of the latest designs, our newest product, a Saber 360 suppressor.
Nice.
We're going to announce that. I guess this will probably be the first public notification of it.
Okay.
That's going to get the proceeds are going to go to Zach's.
So they can keep an eye on your social media pages to get info on that when it happens?
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So
Zach had one of the singular best job interviews we've ever had at our company. Just to share a great story. When I first met him, he walks into the place, comes in. We had a bunch of guys come in that didn't know how to run these machines. He walks in, pulls out a couple of suppressors he's made in the past, throws his laptop down on the thing. It's like, yeah, man, this machine's probably not gonna. This tool's gonna break. I'm gonna cut a core, and then this tool's gonna break, but I'll fix it as it goes. And he puts a USB drive in the machine, cuts a part of a core. The tool snaps, reprograms it on the fly, finishes cutting the core. See, man, that'll do. That'll work. And I just grabbed Dennis by the shirt. It was like, hire this dude, and walked out the room. I was like, I don't care. Hire this guy. Yeah, he straight up sandbagged that whole interview process.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, he's from Tennessee, too. So
I was in Iowa interviewing some gunsmiths at the one of the Brownell's career fairs, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I was. I was out of town, and Dennis sent me a picture of a 22 core. I'm like, well, shit, that looks great. What is that? What's our new 22 core? I was like, wait, what?
That's our new 22 core.
Yeah, the machines came in, did that.
I wasn't expecting that for months.
Hire him.
Right now.
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I told Zach to told Dennis, just do whatever you got to do to make sure he's hired and do what you got to do. And apparently the interview ended up at the strip club, so it worked out very well.
What better way to seal the deal?
I didn't go to that. I was walking out the building, grabbed Dennis, hire this dude, and I just left. I was like, I didn't want to know what was going to take place after. I wanted plausible deniability on that entire thing. I just wanted to be there and make sure that guy got hired. And now it turns out with me, him, and Joe, we're just some of the best friends, man.
Yeah. It's always fun hanging out with you guys too. I mean, you can feel the camaraderie when we're hanging out. It's really fun. I love hanging out with you guys, and we're gonna miss Zach today. Hopefully, he gets feeling better and gets that internet going. Maybe he can jump on here in a little bit later. But if you leadheads didn't get a chance to listen to the last episode, make sure you go back. We had Professor Paul Markle on, and and our intentions were to dive into talking about the Vietnam era AK-47s. We did that a little bit, got into the AR-15, talked about that. I mean, you can't really talk about the AK without talking about the AR during the Vietnam era. And then we kind of chased the squirrel, didn't we, Brian? And just went all kinds of different ways.
My favorite thing to do in life.
We have squirrels, lots of squirrels.
Chasing the squirrels, we're good at that here. But we wouldn't be able to do this show without the love of our sponsors. Seal One. Make sure you go check them out. We were going to have Dwight on, but he couldn't make it on tonight. He wanted to give you leadheads a special discount code for 25% off your orders at Seal One, and it's leadhead. So we're making it easy. Leadhead's the code. You're going to get 25% off. And then, of course, later on in the show, we've got a Seal One package of their CLP cleaning product that we're going to be giving away to one of you lucky leadheads. IWIUS, we're going to be getting them on here in an upcoming episode or two. And I think we're going to do an Uzi talk. We're going to talk Uzis during that episode.
Do you have the guy from Uzi Talk coming?
We have Jeremy Gresham. You familiar with Jeremy at IWI?
Yep. But do you want the Uzi Talk guy?
Oh, well, yeah. Who would that be? You?
No. Oh, my God. Chris Hypes.
Chris Hypes. Okay.
Yeah. From Uzi Talk?
Okay. I'm not familiar with
Uzi Talk.
You've been to Uzi Talk, right?
No.
Oh.
I haven't.
UziTalk.com.
I'm right.
They talk about Uzis.
I wonder, what do they talk about there, Joe?
Their forum's awful specific.
Yeah. Chris is a really good dude.
Do you know him personally?
He's been doing Uzis, but also suppressor development and design.
Okay.
Whenever he gets probably our third suppressor, maybe fourth suppressor off the proto line, because he figures out how to break things that we haven't.
Yeah. That's a good guy to know, definitely. Well, introduce us, and we'll get him to leducate our listeners on the Uzi.
Yep.
We'll make him a part of that show.
I like Uzi.
go show IWI some love. Let them know how much you appreciate them sponsoring the show. Mission First Tactical. They are the makers of our AK Corner dump trays and tactical wallets. Of course, they do a whole lot more than that there. They got some nice AR furniture. They used to make AK furniture, but they're not doing that right now. But Hodor tells me that they're going to start maybe doing that again soon. But they've got a discount code for you heads also. It's 20% off anything there at Mission First Tactical. That's their handguards, their butt stocks, their magazines. They got a new AR-10 magazine that they're making now. They just released that a few weeks ago. And that code is LEADHEAD. You're going to get 20% off there. And then you want to get your cool AK Corner swag. You guys see my sweatshirt I'm wearing tonight?
I like it.
Yeah. That's from Factory 47. They do hoodies, T-shirts, men's, women's shirts, and then we've got a nice tumbler that comes in 2 different sizes with the AK Corner logo on it. You go to factory47.com, and that's 10% off, and that's FAKTORY 47. Use LEADHEAD to get 10% off your order there. And of course, if you want to live be a true AK lifestyle liver, you got to go there and get the swag because they've got all kinds of cool AK swag there. And it's good. That discount code's good on all that stuff. And then, of course, Auckland Defense Solutions, Brian Keeney in Idaho, Moscow, joining us today with the 1775. And again, if you're listening to this right now, you still have time to sign up for that class. I think we got a couple of slots left. It's almost full. It's going to be in Nashville, February 20th through the 21st. And you go to 212 Tactical's website, and that's where you can sign up. And we're going to have Brian's Auckland Defense 1775, the ODS, there. So you can get some hands-on with it while you're there.
Yep, we'll have some demo guns for people to try out in the course. I will be bringing a select fire gun with me as well. And the 1775 suppressed full auto is really fun. It kind of just stays dead level and just kind of chugs. And it's a fun experience. So, looking forward to seeing everybody out there. And, we'll have a good time, hopefully learn a bunch. And then it'll be awesome.
We think there's going to be a couple of more personalities there. We're not going to confirm nor deny, but there's probably going to be other personalities there during this class.
How many personalities of Marty's are there going to be there?
I was wondering. Exactly. Yeah.
There's only one. There's just me, but I will be running around like a chicken with his head cut off probably, because I plan on setting up the studio, doing some recordings. Brian's got a connection here in Tennessee that we're going to try to get set up for one of the episodes of the AK Corner. I think it's going to be a knowledge bomb episode. So if you can get that set up, Brian, that's going to be awesome. I think our lead heads will really enjoy that.
Yep, high probability of that occurring. And knowledge bomb is, we call them the Oracle around here. So yeah,
the
definitely.
Oracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. We're going to have giveaways. We've got T-shirts for all of our students. We've got the dump trays for all of our students. And there's a few other items that are going to be surprises. So if you want to take that course, go sign up now. You're definitely getting your money's worth. That 2-day course, I don't think you can beat for everything that we're doing what they're going to get for that. All right, so let's talk AK-47s. What I'd like to do, and I meant to do this in the first episode, but I got you guys got me off track, Brian, you and Professor Paul. But I just kind of wanted to recap the history of the AK-47. I kind of like to start every season off doing that a little bit. So,
and I got to stop you, Marty, because that's the pot calling the kettle black when it comes to 80. Just saying.
I got to blame somebody. Come on.
Fair enough. I'll take it if we're going that way. That's fine.
That's definitely the direction I'm going with that. But the AK-47, also called the Kalashnikov Model 1947, it is the most widely used shoulder weapon in the world. I think there's some estimated, 12 million or, I don't know, 20 million AKs floating around. I've seen different numbers.
I don't know. It's a lot of them.
Yeah.
We probably won't know from the Cold War and then all the Pakistan and the Romanians and
Right.
no telling how many Khyber Pass guns that are AK, not AK-ish.
How many were smacked
AK
up
frying pans?
back with rock anvils?
There's no telling. So I think we'd be safe to say 20 million that are just floating around.
That's a big number.
The initials AK represent what? What does that stand for? Who wants to take that?
Automatic Kalashnikov?
Avtomat Kalashnikova, correct.
Yes.
And that is
correct.
Russian for automatic Kalashnikov, who, for the, it's named after the designer, Mikhail. Who can say his middle name?
How do you say it?
It's Tomofeyevich Kalashnikov. MTK are his initials. They should do a special MTK version of the AK-47. But he designed that. He's credited with designing it back in 1947. Of course, they didn't put it into service until like around 1949. And then the rest is history. And I always like to get my new guests' take on, kind of what they've heard about the history of the AK-47. So, Charlie and Joe, what's your take on the history of the AK-47? What have you heard through the grapevine?
I really like the way that the early AKs kind of circled back and then ended up where they were between milled and then stamp guns and then back to milled guns and then the hybrid stamp guns and then push forward with that. One of my dreams is always to own one of the original Type 1s. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes from watching Jim Fuller put one together. Had to have been 15 years ago. Early, I don't even think it was in Facebook. I think it was on one of the
MySpace?
AK files or something. Probably one of the first guns he put together, but watching him weld together and piece together an original Type 1 kit.
That would be awesome, yeah.
See, my exposure to the AK, for those who don't know, I worked in a crime lab for 21 years, and I started there in 96. And there were two guns in the gun vault next to each other. One was the MP44, and then one swallowed over was an actual bring-back Type 1 that was in there. And I burned the handguards off of that thing about 3 times. Milled receiver, Type 1, or actual AK-47, not an AKM format rifle. And that was my real first exposure to that firearm and its platform, was that gun in and of itself. Then that was one of the full auto guns we had at the lab. Obviously, a real historical piece. It was on a Form 10, which means it could never leave law enforcement. Yeah, but it was considered destroyed as far as it being in the crime lab vault. Would never be moving out of that anyway. This gun in and of itself had been shot so many times. I actually had a flat spot on the recoil spring on the top. It was so warm. It was the slickest AK I've ever picked up, and it was supposedly what we call it. It was a Dixie Mafia gun that was found in the woods after what was called the Dixie Mafia raid. And so there's a
what city was this?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
It's in Baton Rouge, okay.
And so this gun dated back to, I was told, like the late 70s, early 80s was whenever it was brought into the state possession by the Louisiana State Police. And so that's where that gun lived. And so I shot it because we didn't have ammo for the MP44. So if I needed a full auto gun for any kind of a demonstration or for a range day or something, that's one of the guns I would grab. And so that was that
was an authentic Type 1 Russian.
Joe's seen it. It was it's definitely a milled receiver. Like
now, I would think somebody
with the duct tape pistol grip.
No, that was that was another gun in there that had a duct tape pistol grip. This one, the pistol grip on it was I don't think it was Bakelite, but it was something similar.
I would think somebody as ingenuitive as yourself, Charlie, would be able to piece by piece sneak that out.
All I could have, except for the receiver, and
Yeah.
there was an inventory done annually, and we didn't know when that was going to be, so that was not something I was going to do. But I got to shoot it whatever really I wanted, so kind of just it was great to have it just there.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're talking about it, that's your first exposure to an AK. Let's talk about Joe. Joe, what was your first exposure to the AK-47?
I got into AKs because ARs were flipping expensive, and they were all this modern aluminum and whiz-bang stuff. And then I was able to get a parts kit. I believe it was $69 with barrel and some compliance parts and a flat, but no rivets. And lacking some other stuff. I think it was $69 from J&G Sales, or it may have been AK Builder.
This is a fold it yourself.
This was in my late teens, and it was on a whim because I saw this thing called an AK Builder or an AK kit party. That's what it was, the AK Builder party. And I went to New Orleans and built this AK. Folded the flat.
Kind of like a Tupperware party for women.
Just like a Tupperware party. And then once that happened, I mean, it was just it was history. At 17, 18, I might have been 19, but I'm pretty sure I think I was 17 or 18 at the time.
Now that's the gun that's beside you there?
I actually still have that gun, yes, right here.
Look at it.
It was firing
Gorgeous.
at one time. Actually, probably still... if you put a magazine in, it'd probably still go bang. I'm pretty sure. It looks like everything's there. It wouldn't. Actually, it probably would run just fine because there's enough there, at least for it to cycle out.
Put your glove on and hold it in
make
place.
Its way back into the gas block. That's another matter. But if I
You
get
don't
the gas
need it.
tube, this thing could probably run again.
That's cool. So you're going to send me some pictures of that so I can post that, right? So the listeners can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So this is a 1980 Romy G. And what's cool about the the guard AKs, they have the little red G on them. And over time, this G just got worse and worse and worse as far as like the late 70s guns, a beautiful G. The 80s still look nice. Once it got in like 82, 84, 86,
yeah,
the G's just went like, brrr, and it was barely there. But the thing about the guard guns is the guard guns weren't machine guns. They were semi-auto guns. So they were never beat to hell and abused and rattle-trapped. So they really are probably the best kits that in mass that the U.S. has ever seen to build. Nowadays, they're commanding a hell of a premium. I think they're going for around $700 on Gunbroker.
Yeah.
If you can.
I bet they're going for more than that. Bet they're going for like $1,500.
For the kits, man.
Probably.
Maybe. It is some crazy times right now. But that's my first experience and really my first
and that's cool. You still have it. That's
modern sporting rifle thing.
Yeah. Finger quote, modern sporting rifle.
I'm a lover of the SKS too. I think it's a great design and it's an inexpensive rifle. It has a few quirks, but once you know them and understand them, that's a great gun too.
They used to be inexpensive, just like everything else.
I don't know. I got one this weekend for what Charlie, about $90.
It was a box of ammo and some change, and Joe's, okay, look what I got. I'm like, stop getting those.
Get me one. I'll take one. I don't have an SKS yet.
Real nice Norinco, had the threaded in barrel, all matching numbers, had the correct bayonet, had a sling. Only thing, it was an early IO import, and apparently the stock was really rough, so they sanded it and urethaned it.
It was a decent urethane job, though. I mean, it was real shiny. I mean, it could be buffed out.
So you guys were at a gun show this past weekend, right?
We were. Yep. Up in North Louisiana.
Talk about that, because there's not a lot of those going on around the country these days.
Not
Louisiana,
around.
we've only been down there was only about a period of 2 months or so where there were no more shows. But after that, they just kind of had their local restrictions and body count limitations.
Yeah.
Our Baton Rouge location, they had the little Trade Mart, which I guess it's probably about 8,000 square feet, maybe 10. Well, they had to move it to support all the tables and apply the social distancing to the arena, which is next door, but it's like 5 times the size. So it looks crazy because the same amount of people that are packed in normally in this 9,000 square foot area is now spread in this it had to have been it's a 4-acre arena.
Oh wow, that's pretty.
But we're still rolling with gun shows here in Louisiana, and really hadn't slowed down.
I think they're still having them here in Tennessee too. I just haven't seen them advertised as much, I guess.
They're pretty prolific here these days, and we try to make most of the local ones. If for one, to sell suppressors, for two, just to let people know that we exist.
So, Brian, have we ever talked about your first exposure to the AK-47? I think we have, but let's tell that story again.
Yeah, sure. So, I was getting into defensive firearms. Hadn't shot them as a kid. Grown up on, 22s and 12 gauges and that kind of thing. But my dad had spent a good amount of time in Vietnam and came back and decided he didn't want to kill anything anymore. And so I didn't grow up with black rifles, but was living in California and had small children and realized that, running away is always a good option when you can. And that had always worked great. But when you got a little kid, you can't run away anymore. And so that was my introduction to, guns are great, because you're not hand-to-hand fighting if you got a little kid in your hands. You're not knife fighting, and that leaves guns. And so set about to find the simplest solution that I could for self-defense. And for a handgun, that was easy. That's the Glock. Done. And we can argue about which brand of Glock you like, whether it's whether it's a Smith & Wesson Shield or whatever. But, striker-fired polymer handgun gets the job done. When you get to rifles, it's a little more tricky. And I was looking at making, I was in California at the time, and so wanted to skirt all the firearms laws I could with regard to registration. And so I was looking at making my own, and the 223 was not terribly satisfying from a terminal ballistics standpoint, meaning how quickly it makes stuff dead. And so I was looking at 30 cal and was trying to make a short-barreled AR-10. And some people since then have figured out how to do it. But at that time, they basically didn't work. And that was the original prototype for the M16. And, the whiz kids over in McNamara's defense department were like, hey, this gun's pretty cool, but can you make it in 223? And so Stoner, made the AR-15, and then that advanced to a mil spec. But, the AR-10 never really got brought along until quite recently. So after I had all this experience with an AR-10 that didn't work, I was like, you know what? I think I'm reinventing the wheel here, because I want a short barrel, like a 16-inch barrel, and 30 cal, and I want it to work. And the AK I had always thought was hideously ugly. And I started to take a second look at it and fell in love with the ugly, and got myself a milled at that time.
Hold on a second.
I won't say which. I won't.
Okay, go ahead. I'm muting him.
Cool. So let's see. Shit, where was I?
Milled.
Oh yeah. So
Ugly.
Yeah, the AK I just thought was hideously ugly, and then I fell in love with the ugly because I dove in and looked at the functionality and the simplicity of the design. And a good example would be the dust cover on an AR-15 has, I don't know how many parts, like 5 or 6, something like that. And on the AK, it's the safety. There's no part. There's no dust cover. The top cover on an AK, we call that the dust cover, but the equivalent there, the Soviets figured out how to do it with one part to do 2 jobs. And so the love affair really kicked off from there. And I got I bought my first one because I wanted one that would just work. and I won't mention which brand it was, but it was a milled gun, and the thing was so stinking heavy that after my first day of training, I had a neck injury. And there were very few AKs that you could legally import into California. And there were basically no stamped guns of quality that you could get in. So I was going to build my own and, again, get around the registration. So took a class from Jim Fuller because I did a survey of a YouTube survey and realized that there were definitely ways to blow your face off making AKs. So went and took the builder class from Jim and then made my own after that. And it was atrocious and didn't work.
How long ago was that?
That was 2015.
Okay, so not too long
and,
ago.
Not that long ago. And I made another one, and it was atrocious, and it kind of worked. And started designing parts for the gun before I could really build them, and having other people, really good builders, build my actual defensive guns. And eventually, built enough atrocious guns to start coming out with a gun that was worth something. And that's been the progression. But the first guns I built were more or less straight RD clones. That was a really good... Jim figured out a lot of really cool stuff there with making the gun more ergonomic and less front heavy. And so I've just kind of been continuing down that road ever since of trying to make the guns more ergonomic and balanced. And although, the current effort that we're doing with the 1775 is just a culmination of a bunch of different efforts, just marching down that same line of bringing everything that's better about the AR to the AK.
All right, who is Chantel?
Huh?
Chantal's my wife.
Oh.
And, yeah.
Where are you
She's
seeing
awesome.
That thing causes trouble and keeps us in business.
Well, she is awesome because we're going down the road of my first Auckland Defense build today.
I am pumped to be building you a gun. I'm really
I wanted one since the first batch.
Do tell. Let's talk about this.
I've wanted one since the first batch. I think the first time I talked to Brian was at one of the SHOT Shows with that milled sight tower. And I think one of the first things I told him, like, Brian, this is really cool. You got to figure out how to make this cheaper. And he did.
Just for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ever since then, I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. And then when you announced the ODS, or was it the ODS at that time?
We did the Merc first, the Merc handguard.
No, this was before the handguard.
Yeah, so the rifle came after the handguard because I couldn't sell any handguards, and Jaeger and a bunch of other folks were like, "Bro, nobody wants to do gunsmithing at all." And
that's right.
You need to, figure out, you need to sell guns. The way you're going to sell handguards is by selling guns. And so, took that to heart, and it's it's all
and now you're millions of dollars into it.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
So it was a sight tower, then the Merc, and then the gun.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if I had any intermediate products in there, but
and then the sight, the front sights, and then the buttstock.
There. Yep.
That's relatively new. So I missed out on, I think, the first 3 pre-orders or so. And at one point, I was like, well, I guess I'm too far down the road and he's just too busy now. But recently I got to the point where, I need to pull the trigger. I really want one of these. And it's going to be a pistol, of course.
Oh, sweet.
Because I'll probably SBR it once it gets here.
Yeah. Yeah, the pistols are great. 10.5-inch barrel. They're very handy.
I've got my order in for one of those too.
Yeah.
What barrel thread do you use on those?
We don't thread barrels anymore. I use this CryoFit deal that we figured out it's not new, but it's used everywhere in industry where you chill the thing on the inside, in this case, the barrel, we chill in liquid nitrogen, and then we heat up the muzzle device to about 700-800 degrees. And when they're both at room temperature, there's about 1,000th to 1,000th and a half of interference. And when we heat up the outside, the ring, the muzzle device, and shrink the barrel, the inside, the outside grows, the inside shrinks. They slide past each other for a few seconds, and that allows us to get extremely good alignment and do a bunch of stuff that you couldn't ordinarily do because of the way the AK is put together. It's a 30 cal gun, and so if you thread them half 28, you can do that, and there are people that do. It just scares us a little bit because you end up with less than a 16th of actual metal holding the suppressor onto the barrel. And so you can't do 5/8 24 because the gas block wouldn't fit on. It's a smaller diameter than that in the bore. So this is a solution we've figured out that works for us. There's other good ways to do it. That's just, like I said, what works for us. And so we offer 3 varieties there. We've got a brake that we just came out with that has a the dead air key mount system on it there. And it doesn't work the way that most other brakes work. It actually channels the blast forward instead of backward. So it doesn't reduce recoil a ton, but what it does do is not give you foggy thinking after shooting it all day. And that's a big deal for our folks in California that are, through legislation, are required to have a brake. And also for folks that might be, if you're under 150 pounds and shooting an AK, I think a brake is a reasonable option. And so we do a brake, a Vortex style flash hider, and then we also have a collar that gives you 5/8 24 threads on the front end. So if you want to direct mount a can or something, for the pistol, that's a really good option. And it works the same way. It's just that you get by sliding this adapter over the end, we can make the diameter big again so that you've got a registration shoulder for your 5/8 24 threads to put that can on or whatever.
Well, that sounds like the winner there.
I think for you and your cans, direct threading a can on the front end that's the bee's knees.
I'm a big fan of the chemo system, but we test pretty much everybody's designs as well as our own. So I have to have some kind of just simple threading on there.
Yep. That's why we picked key mount. It works. Dead Air is a great company, and Mike's been good to me. But it's also kind of as close to a universal standard as you can get. It'll take your cans have that 1 3/8 by 24 thread optional on the rear end, as I understand it. And so it'll run an Atlas. It'll do, I
think there's 10 of us now.
Okay, that are all, you know better than me.
Yeah, I think there's 10 of us. And I think it's pretty much the closest we've had to a universal name is the X375 pattern.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad to know there's a name for it.
That's the one I like, so I'm trying to make it better.
Well, we'll run with it there.
So, you guys, Joe, are known for your cans, your suppressors, among other things, but really for those. And you've got a new one coming out, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier. Talk about that one.
We do, and actually, it was developed. It was conceptualized. And it fits perfect around the AK platform. And it really we started with our modular stuff. All of our suppressors are future-proof, so there's a modularity with it. So we already had this base module, and we wanted to continue growing with this. And multi-cal suppressors were getting really popular, and then lo and behold, 9x39 comes out. 9x39 is going to be a thing. We're going to import millions upon millions upon millions of rounds. We're going to have 9x39 AKs. So I was like, I really like this round. And me and Zach were talking, and we already had something close to it because he was working on kind of a side project that was a 9mm pistol can / rifle can, but would be perfect for 9x39. So we decided to go ahead and start proceeding with this, and went through several different variation types and designs and things like that. And the end result is now the Saber 360. And it has had many names since then, or before then. It was going to be an offshoot of the Orion, our original heavy-duty welded 30 cal can.
Yeah.
and then it ended up as an offshoot name of the pistol can, the Pilum, and then finally we decided it was going to share the family of register sections of the Saber. With it being 36 caliber, it's now called the Saber 360. It does all 360 degrees of your suppressor needs. It's titanium. It's a 36 caliber bore. It's a Delta baffle style, so it's more aimed towards rifle use, i.e. the 9x39, 7.62x39. One of the first rifles we ever put it on was a 5.45 AK. But being a 36 caliber, being what the AK does, whenever bullets leave it, you want a little bit more free bore area. So that 36 caliber definitely gives you some.
How
some
did
opening.
Mike Papa say it? You need a little wider hallway to throw the hot dog down.
Yep.
Something
So
like that.
the Saber 360, we released it in October, and we had intended of releasing the first production run to Louisiana, and then our next production run start offering it nationwide. Well, we sold out of our initial production run within the first week to Louisiana. We tripled the next production run, and by end of December, we had sold out all of that production run.
You're welcome.
Meanwhile, I'd already talked to all of our dealers and said, hey, we got this can coming. They've seen it. They love it. They've touched it. Feels like, great, we're going to get it. And then I had to make the call like, hey, we're working on our third production run, and we're about halfway through it, already sold out. So we're finally, about that time, through the first production run, I realized that this was going to be a hit, and I ordered a new machine, strictly for cutting this, dealing with more of the titanium parts. Brian, do you cut any titanium, or have you cut titanium?
I live in fear of cutting it, so educate me.
It's a pain in the ass. So we bought a machine that is twice as big, twice as heavy, more rigid, more horsepower, and everything just to handle the titanium with a little bit less stress than what we were doing it before. So we specifically got this one machine to make this can faster and better.
That is awesome.
And
it's got high pressure cool.
What's that?
At the risk of derailing you, can we loop back to your future proofing? Because I don't think you can overstate what a big deal that is, particularly like if you mess up and put your can on a bad gun, for example. You want to talk a little bit about how you do the serialization on your suppressors and what makes them so special, and the way that you're taking care of the customer in a way that I'm not sure a lot of people understand. So if you don't mind, I'll toot your horn for you if you want, but I think you can describe it better than I can.
Thank you. The future-proof concept is something that I started with very early and wasn't able to make it to fruition until Zach came along and started putting his magic behind it. And it started with our 22. Basically, the register section allows us to constantly be able to evolve, to constantly be able to improve and tweak the core, pardon the pun, of what the suppressor does. Suppress, be easy to clean, things of that nature. But with legal regulations and things, we were locked in a box or in a tube of what we could do inside of that. So that hatched the future-proof concept of how can we make this suppressor still 100% kosher and ATF size, make it easy for us to be in compliance, our dealers in compliance, our end users in compliance, but allow us to do two very simple things. One, easily fix boo-boos, and allow our customers to never be left out in the cold. Because I purchased a can, it took, I think, 13 months at the time, and by the time I received the can, that can had been discontinued and no longer supported for 7 months. Ooh. And I was really, really frustrated. So whenever we started shifting from, hey, cans are cool, we're doing this as a side project, to now 90 to 95% of what we do are suppressors, I wanted to make sure that our suppressor customers would never be left out in the cold and feeling like I did whenever I hit that. So the future-proof concept is and will always be a pathway for modularity and an upgrade path and an easy repair. Because if you launch a can or you run, somebody shoots 9mm through your 22 or 338 through your 30 cal can, damage is going to happen. You get a bad bullet with an air pocket in the lead that destabilizes, you're going to get damage to the can. It's part of the industry. It's an understood that cans are going to get nuked. Now, how do we make this not be a big deal for the customer? For us, as a manufacturer, okay, can died, get another one. For our end user, they have months and $200 into this thing.
$200 additional dollars, yeah.
Yeah, what happens in 3 years or in 2 months or in 4 months when suppressors may or may not go the way of transferable machine guns? What happens then? It's just the future-proof concept is kind of a safety net for all of that. And in our testing, the way we kind of proofed and showed how the future-proof concept works is we always bring our cans to destruction, absolute destruction, as many times as we can. And in the Saber family, we actually have one registered section that has been killed and destroyed 4 times, and it probably is going to have its 5th death coming up shortly. And the experiment is to destroy this can in as spectacular as fashion and as fast of a fashion as we can, and then get it back up and running. And its 4th life right now, we nuked it on a 7.5-inch AR machine gun with drums, 60-round Surefire mags, I think some 40s. But at the end of the day, it was glowing red. You could see the core through the tube, and then most of it puked out the front. Within 3 to 5 minutes of finding where the parts were, making sure everything was there, making sure nothing was damaged, we had it apart, had it back together as a new can, and we're shooting again.
And so just to bring it all the way down to second grader level for those of us who are new in the can space, when you get a tax stamp on a suppressor, there's a serial number on that suppressor. And so the way Joe does it is he's got a section of tubing that is the regulated item or whatever he's calling it. It is the can. So...
and it's nearly indestructible.
And that part is nearly indestructible. And so the guts can barf out the front end of the thing. And because it's the same serial number, you could send it back to ACLA. You can tell us in a second how you actually do it, because I know possessing suppressor components can get weird. But let's just say you had to send it back to ACLAS. If I'm Joe Can owner and I put 9mm through my 22 can, I just send back the wreckage with the tube that's still in one piece, the outer part that has the serial number on it. Joe can put new guts back in the thing and ship it straight back to me. And the ATF, legally, they have nothing to say. We don't need to even talk to them. But if a can that's welded shut has a catastrophic malfunction, you're into a new serial number. Joe can't just, or, welded
new
suppressor.
Serial number is a whole new product, right?
Yeah, well, and it's a new tax stamp and a new waiting period. And so what Joe is doing with this future-proofing, it's not just the ability to put in, better baffles in the future. It's if you break it, if you do something dumb, then you're not into waiting another year to get another can and another $200 and another set of fingerprints and all this nonsense. You're just back in the fight. So is this
the way that most suppressor companies or all suppressor companies are doing that now?
None. Nobody else is doing it. We're the only manufacturer of future-proof systems. In our centerfire cans, the register section is the rearward part of the mount and tube, and it's protected and shrouded by the muzzle brake or flash hider or mount or other device. So the bullet has no possibility of ever striking the serialized portion of the suppressor. So even the worst catastrophic failure or machine gun erosion or anything like that will never affect the registered component. We have not had a registered component failure yet. As the only time we've had failures when we do in our initial prototyping is when we manufacture out of an inferior material, bring it to destruction, and we analyze the data, look at it, see why it failed, and then we make it with the material that we're using. The end result, we've never had a failure in the real world of one of our registered sections. We used to build suppressors a lot like other people with expensive, super hard to machine exotics like Inconel and Hastelloy. We've experimented with Stellite and things. It's very hard to machine. It's expensive. And in 90% of most cases, it's not needed. The way we do that is we build the can very lightweight, keep the price down, and if we have those people that do have the machine guns on it or erode it or anything, it's a very easy replacement for the core section. And if they do, then I give them a second can, fix their first can, and now they have two cans to kind of spread the erosion love around. So if there's a failure, we can swap the cores in. But what that does, it allows us to stay away from those super exotic, super hard, pain
materials,
in the butt to deal with materials, to keep it just a simpler, future-proof concept.
Very cool. I mean, and that's huge. I mean, if you look at the benefits of that versus, like you said, if you have a failure, then having to go repurchase another suppressor, the wait time, the $200, that's huge. And I didn't realize that you guys were the only ones doing that. So. Yep.
And Marty, you have some of our cans. If you look at your Atlas or one of your Sabers, you can see where that future-proof section is. That's the rearward section of the mount, the little spiral fluted area, and you'll see that seam line where everything kind of mates together and threads.
Right there. Got the Orion.
Right.
Or not
go
the
Orion.
The other way.
You're the other way.
Is it over that way? Yeah. I'm back ashwards.
There you go, right there. That looks like a can.
The
That
Atlas.
looks like an
That's Atlas.
Yep, that's our big body 30 cal can.
That's the only one I have. I need a Saber. I could use a Saber.
The Saber is the 5.56.
I need that.
And now the whole Saber family is the 1.5 inch. Now all this is culminating into something we're probably going to release late this year, early next year, for some really cool stuff. It's still going to be all part of the Saber 360. So any purchaser of the Saber 360 will be able to take advantage of this new whiz-bang technology stuff that we've got coming.
Whiz-bang technology, okay.
Yep.
It's so top secret, even I don't know about it.
Lighter, quieter, whiz-bang newness. Anybody that's part of our future-proof technology will be able to participate in it.
The new hotness. I like it. Well, we'll have to have you on when that hits and have you talk about it.
So that's why I need an ODS pistol so we can tweak it and develop it. And I like the way Brian looks and has his take on the AK building. He's kind of modernized it to utilize current machining technologies and materials here in the States, but still you have the robustness, the reliability, the simplicity, and the safety factor of the original AK design. I think they had to do that just because they had such shitty, terrible materials at the time.
Yeah. That's why I hate the Galil.
I like the Galil too.
So, what we can do for you, Joe, is, we're having this class come up into this month, and we're going to have several ODS 1775s there. So if you want to send a couple of Sabers our way to test out and try during the class, maybe get
who is our 07 that we can send to?
Royal Range or Brian. You can send it to Brian.
Brian?
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's swap FFLs and SOTs after this, and I would love to. I have not yet shot an Atlas can on a 1775, and we need to fix that now. So yeah, let's do that, and it would be a lot of fun to demo those cans at the class there. A lot of guys don't have a chance
to put them together. We're in a process. We're in a production run now. It might work out that I'll have some of those available to send out.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're pretty proud of it. We're really happy with it. And I've never liked multi-roll suppressors. I try and stay away from the hybrid or what are all the names and things that people come up with? It's the hybrid suppressors, the universal suppressors.
Yeah.
We've kind of settled on the multi-roll concept.
Multi-caliber.
But it's a multi-roll sportsman's can, lightweight, but still very, very robust and useful. All the way down, you can even use it on your Glock 19, which is one of the notoriously hardest to suppress pistols.
Oh, wow. That'd be awesome. Well, yeah, send those our way. We'll get some feedback from some of the students and the guys there at Roll Range. Have you met Art before?
Maybe
I've
I can
introduced
blow
you.
one up.
And you can come too if you want to come down or come up.
Next weekend? What weekend was that?
20 and 21st.
Oh, I think we got a show. At least I do.
21.
20th and 21st.
Oh, this weekend after next.
Weekend after next, yeah. Yep.
That might be a bit tight. I don't know if I'll be able to do that one. I know we do have a show that weekend.
Okay. Well, it'll be a good time. Like I said, there's going to be some personalities supposedly coming.
Well, if there's anything that does explode or die or anything, try and get all the parts so we can check it out.
It's an indoor range, so that has you said it's at
Royal Range?
Royal Range, USA?
I love that place.
I love Royal Range.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Art would love to see you, definitely.
It's an old movie theater, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Converted an old movie theater into one of the most badass ranges there is.
It's a beautiful range. Beautiful range.
I'm only exaggerating slightly when I say you could eat off the floor there. The lead mitigation that they do is crazy. They've got like the equivalent of a gun range Zamboni. They've got all this rubber tire media that's their backstop, and then they go through and they harvest the media. The front end of this thing, it's like a mini combine, has a gobbler on it that grabs all the media and washes it and harvests the lead out, and the lead settles to the bottom, and then this thing shits the rubber material out the back end, and so they're constantly cleaning. Well, yeah. My wife and kids are constantly saying, like, why is everything a butthole with you?
Oral anal fixation, but
anyway. We
digress.
The other day that has the grates in the floor like Royal Range does, but Royal Range has the conveyor belt for the brass. It collects the brass and drives that out to the back as well, I believe.
Man. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I guess they able to get rid of all that unburnt powder too.
Yeah, it's fun. A multi-million-dollar setup. But I wanted to talk. I thought maybe we should talk more about suppressing the AK-47 today. But that last episode we did in season 2, I mean, we really got detailed in that. So I'm just going to refer you lead heads. Go listen to that episode. We had Zach from Atlas, we had Mike Pappas from Dead Air, Curtis Halstrom from VSO, and we talked about the inherent problems with suppressing the AK-47, and then we talked about ways to get around those problems and make it work. So we're not going to get into that because that'll be another 2-hour talk today, but I did want to ask you guys about your integrally suppressed AK. I mean, it was the bee's knees and all the talk there when it first came out, the Velociraptor AK-47. What's the story on it these days?
We are in probably the final beta test right now. We've got a few that we got to finish out. We've been kind of set back with COVID has increased our core product demand tremendously. Unknowingly, we started a retail store front gun shop. So Atlas has always had a retail presence, but it's been more of a factory showroom outlet, and hey, you can buy some ammo, some Glocks too. We really like Kel-Tec and Mossberg, but that's about it. Well, November before last, so November 2019, or actually October 2019, I started a process of turning us into a real gun shop up front, blow out some walls, and then turn, I think it's around 2,700 square foot of gun shop. Enough room for 300 guns, rifles, and pistols. and wham bam, we opened Black Friday 2019. Huge hit. I've had more people in the store than we've ever had. Fast forward about 3 months, and all this, the COVID stuff hits, and now gun stores are more popular than ever. So unexpectedly, the retail store has taken a lot of my attention and some of our other guys' attention.
And it's called Meaux Guns.
Yep, Meaux Guns. Get Meaux Guns.
Get
if you
you
need
some
Meaux
Meaux
Guns,
Guns.
down to Meaux Guns.
Get you some.
But anyway, the combination of that, the extra demand for our suppressors, has kind of slowed our prototyping and the beta testing and
new
things.
Product development and stuff. Yeah, that's
because it is a
the
very
story
very
for everybody these days.
Basically, we manufacture everything on that gun from the trunnion forward. So the gas blocks, the barrel, the gas systems, the gas piston, the sight block, the sight tower, the front sights, as well as the can itself, is all manufactured and designed and developed. And it's a lot of complex moving things for what started as kind of a race car, kind of like what Ford did. You win on Sundays, you sell on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what the Velociraptor started out to be, and it kind of grew into something a little bit more complex and more of a niche product. We are going to have it as a main production line item, but we want to make sure we have our production capability all in a row.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait for that. I mean, it was about 2 or 3 years ago when we were at the range with that.
2 years ago. Yeah, it should be about 2 years ago. We had the first. Well, no, it would be 3 years because SHOT Show just did again.
3 years. It was at the Antares Alliance, the Try and Buy there at the Pro Gun Club. That was. So
basically, just the heart of the gun. It's an AK with 3 suppressors. You have the 3 major gas events when you shoot a firearm. Well, we're taking and capturing as much of the gas off of all 3 events to keep the signature and the sound and the gas captured inside the can and push it forward in a time-delayed release as much as possible. And it's not something anybody's ever done before.
Yeah. So you guys it's like a 9.5 inch barrel.
Yeah, it's 9.333.
9.333, and then you got creative vents and things like that you're doing internally to, like you said, redirect all that. So it's cool. It's definitely cool. It's and is that one of Zach's designs?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, he's a genius.
Yeah, it has large influence by the guys over at Green Force Tactical.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
Joe, what are those 3 events?
Well, you have your muzzle release, you have your chamber release as the round comes out, but more importantly, you have the release coming out of that large-ass gas port for the gas system for the function to actually work. So one of the key things about the AK reliability is the amount of gas that is utilized and corked off. It's kind of a self-regulating system, but all of that gas, once it's been used to cycle the gun, it's got to go somewhere. Well, now we're capturing it, redirecting it, and releasing it on a slower scale. Instead of right in front of the shooter's face, it's now out front of the can.
Ooh, nice. Kind of like what you were talking about with your design on the brake that you did, Brian, right?
Yeah, that's that's the idea. Is we want to get noise, and in the case of our brake, we're just channeling it forward, and in the case of Joe's design, there, a good example would be, or a good analogy might be, that instead of having a really fast impulse, like hitting something with a hammer, you're giving it a slow but hard shove, and the energy is the same. But when you push it out slower, the volume is lower because we're just talking about sound pressure, right? And the way that suppressors generally work is instead of having all the gas come out at once, the way Joe's doing it with those 3 different sources of noise, he's bleeding it out over a longer time. And so the total amount of gas is the same, but when you spread it out over a long time, it's quieter.
Yeah. It's like the difference between letting a fart out fast and letting it out slow.
A fart and a queef.
That's actually one of the, my first day in public school, my dad asked me what I'd learned, and I said I learned how to fart without making a noise. And it was all downhill from there as far as I'm concerned with my public school
Stretch it out over time.
That's great.
Yep. That's a brilliant description, Joe.
Flatten the curve.
That's seriously.
Well, I had to come up with something better, or something that could compete with Zach's analogy, because Zach's analogy is like the best ever.
Ooh, what is it?
You haven't heard Zach's analogy of how a suppressor works?
Mm-mm.
All right, if you blow up a balloon, and you pop it, you get a bang. Or if you blow up a balloon and you open the valve and just let it slowly go out, you're letting the same amount of air go out. You're just doing it over a longer period of time. Now with a suppressor, you're doing some thermodynamics and grabbing some heat and things like that. But I always thought that was kind of the most elegant way of saying, hey, this is how suppressors work.
I like the fart. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I'm digging the fart.
Yours wins. Yeah,
Leadheads, let's vote on that. Shoot me an email, talkinglead@gmail.com.
We got to develop the toilet humor.
But you got to talk like, when you say it, you have to talk like this. You have to say, when you pop a balloon, it goes back.
Sound like Zach. All right, I think this is a good time to segue into our listener questions. Let's get into those. I got a couple of emails I want to read, and then we'll get into the social media post that I made the other day. This one comes from Tyler. And Tyler says, hello, Talking Lead. My name is Tyler Austin. I'm a fan of your podcast, especially your AK Corner series. I'm in the final stages of writing a book called Combative Kalashnikov. And he used a K for combative, like we do for Corner, which should be released by the beginning of December. So that would have been last month, for last. As you can probably guess by the title, the book is all about fighting with an AK along with other Kalashnikov-related topics as well. I believe this book would interest both you and your listeners. I would love to come onto the show to talk about anything and everything AK, talk about the book, and maybe even give a few of them away to your listeners once it's released. Would this be something you guys would be interested in doing? So I don't know. What do you think, Leadheads? Should we invite Tyler on the show? Shoot me a email, talkinglead@gmail.com, and let me know if you want to have Tyler on the show, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Sounds like it might be a pretty cool book.
It's always good to get as many points of view on a subject as possible.
Yeah.
Always. And then you just got to use your deductive reasoning and looking at it to figure out, hey, does this work?
Critical thinking, baby. Critical thinking.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see his bibliography and see where his research came from. You know, maybe he's got some sources of something that he found that I haven't read or none of us have read.
Yeah. I'll get back with him and see if maybe he'll send me a copy, and then we'll see if we can't maybe get him on. This next email comes from Leadhead Brett B, and we actually read part of this email on our regular show. He was the guy who had the daughter. They started the competitive shooting together. They've been doing it for a while, and they're getting better and better. She just had a 16th birthday. But he writes, says, hey, gang, big fan of the show in general, but especially the AK Corner. Really enjoy the guests and the knowledge they bring to the table. Brian from Auckland Defense is arguably my favorite, finger quote, guest, although he's more of a co-host than a guest. I would agree with that, wouldn't you, Brian?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
And thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad it's useful.
He says, I have been searching for the right AK to come along for a couple of years. And I posted some pictures there. Those 2 pictures I posted are the gun he's talking about here for you guys to look at. I've been searching for the right AK to come along for a couple of years. Several have popped up, but due to one thing or another, I was never able to get them. That all changed last weekend. A Vepper popped up for sale, and not just any Vepr, but a mint example that was purchased new in 2014 by somebody who was somebody who has only fired it a few occasions. So very, very low round counts, what he's saying. I was able to make a deal we could both live with. He had 10 SMG mags and sling that were thrown in the deal. I paid more than I wanted, but prices have been crazy, and Russian AKs don't come around very often. The importer was WPA of Anaheim, California. You guys familiar with them?
Wow, that's an early gun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. He said, I'm a fan of the furniture. I will shoot it this way for a while, but I'm looking to add a handguard from Occam and a more traditional buttstock and pistol grip. I know my options are limited, but looking for some advice from the experts. And those are the images there that I sent you guys. So, Brian, is he going to be able to get one of those Mercs on there?
Solid, maybe. We have a video on our YouTube channel and on our website. If you go to occamdefense.com/install, there are links to a whole bunch of videos, and one of them is, will the Merc fit my AK? And we go through detailed instructions there to figure out, before you start cutting on your gun, whether it's a good fit or not. The Vepr is actually not an AK. It is an RPK. And which is an awesome gun, super awesome gun, but it's a little different from a standard AK. And so he would want to look at that video. But my general inclination, and our listeners can't see the photos, but that's a pretty mint gun, like he says. And if he wants to get a more traditional, and it's got a thumbhole stock on it, so the pistol grip and the butt stock are one piece of wood, and it is beautiful. It's a really nice looking example. My inclination would be that if he wanted to modernize it in the way that we do, the highest and best use probably of that gun is to resell it for a lot of money, because it's worth a lot of money, and to buy one of our guns. I suspect that he'd be on par there.
Yeah.
And it's just, there are certain classic guns that I just don't really believe in cutting on, and that would be one of them. He's also got, because of that thumbhole stock, the receiver in the back is a slant back. It's got a diagonal cut in the back of it, and that really limits what you can stick on there. And there are adapters out there, but I try to stick away from adapters when I can. And so my gut inclination would be, if you love it, hold on to it, save up for one of ours. Yeah. Or there are many other fine AK manufacturers out there that might need to meet his needs as well. But yeah, the way we price our guns out, there's not a lot of money to be saved by buying the parts and converting a gun. The way I priced our introductory offering was that if you bought a Wasser and stuck all of the stuff on it that we did, you would be cheaper to buy one of our guns.
Yeah.
And so our guns are more expensive now because I believe we're solidly into hyperinflation right now. I could be wrong, but the money supply has nearly doubled over the last year. So like our parts costs have doubled. So our price increases are a reflection of that. And it's a shame, but when you see
to have something like this, like it's such mint condition too. I mean, I wouldn't recommend changing it at all. I recommend keeping it. Add it to your collection. Win more gun competitions and save your money from those, and then buy your choice. Occam Defense is a great choice. Obviously, you're into the look. So,
gun should not be touched. That gun should be enjoyed and shot. It needs to go in the safe. Find the crappy ARs that are snuck in there, sell those, and buy one Occam gun. What are they, Brian? They're $2,200 now, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
A Sam 7, one of the Arsenal Sam 7s right now. They're streeting for around $2,400 right now.
I didn't know that. I should be raising my prices again. You
cannot get a better gun for the money. unless you go for like a washer, but I mean, you're talking half the gun, half the money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the delta is there. But for something that I would trust my life on, that I wouldn't have to go through and prove and check and make sure that fire control's good. I mean, the Occam gun, from everything I've seen, is one of the best AK buys out there. But please, 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 no matter what parts fit that Vepr, don't put them on it.
Yeah, that's my advice.
Let it alone. Just quit fooling with it. Just let it go, man. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's good.
And shoot the heck out of it.
It's not. I'm not very short from almost saying that I would buy him an Occam defense gun and trade it.
Yeah, no, I think you'd be money ahead if you did that. Is my feeling. That
there you go. The offer's on the table, Brett.
And all of this is not to throw shade at him, because he got whatever he paid for it. He got a hell of a deal, is my suspicion. And so yeah, good on you, sir, for finding a beautiful specimen.
Yeah, plus with all those extra mags and the ammo that he got with it, so I think he probably got a good deal there. Hang on to that, Brett, and just win some more competition, shoot better. And
or dig you up a Sega. I saw some Segas going for around $750, $800 at the gun show this past weekend.
Holy smokes!
I need to go to your gun shows, Joe. Shit.
I've worked on so many of those guns. Holy cow!
Oh my God.
We used to take the buttstocks and other stuff off of them and just have gaylords full of those buttstocks.
Sell them by the 5-gallon and 55-gallon drum.
Yeah,
man.
They were the cheapest I can remember getting Segas. The shotguns, I remember getting them for $319. The Sega rifles, $239.
Oh my gosh!
Wow,
I'm sick. I'm so sick.
Maybe $269.
I mean, what's
for
the difference?
the
$300.
223 and 545 rifles.
Oh wow!
man.
And then the 308s are big money.
Mm-hmm.
And I also remember feeling and jumping for joy when we'd knock that front sight block off and find the threaded barrels.
Yeah, big time. The Segas are really nice guns.
Right. Let me go to this next question.
I mean, they're as close to a real Russian AK as you can get.
Andy, Leadhead Andy B. This is an email. It says, "Good afternoon, Talking Lead crew. My name is Andy. I've been listening to you guys on and off for a while, and I recently rediscovered the AK Corner. Love the show, guys. I definitely gotten a little burned out on all the same with ARs, and I prefer my AKs way more. I used to listen to you guys while I was driving to work at my old job at the local county jail. So I never got a chance to get engaged in your post on Instagram or anything. But now that I've got a new desk job, I'll be able to jump in there whenever I think about it. I also get to have headphones in all day. That sounds like a cush job. So I've been on an AK Corner binge since Monday, starting with Season 1, Episode 1. Man, you've been binging for a while then. So I'm now on Season 2, Episode 1. Call it overkill if you want, but I'm enjoying it. Well, there's a lot to enjoy there. A lot of knowledge bombs, a lot of education that we've done over the past 2, and now starting Season 3. So a couple of other questions I've come up with for the show. What kind of tuning can be done to an AK on a budget? Polishing the trigger, smoothing out the safety. I'm looking forward to the next episode. So Joe, you want to give
Bullets
some
and
tips?
magazines.
Do what?
Bullets and magazines.
Bullets and magazines.
I like the AKs. The AKs just work. I mean, there's some things you might want to loosen up, tweak the fire control a bit. You kind of got little short, stubby fingers. There's a couple things you can do with the safety or loosen it up. Outside of that, get a good, comfortable grip on it. Get comfortable with loads and reloads and malfunction drills with it, and just shoot it.
Yeah. The ALG trigger is a good trigger if you want to put a new trigger in it. The Sentry has a little extension on their safety selectors. Have you seen that on that Thunder Ranch version that they did?
Yeah, it's all kind of a offshoot of the original Probably Krebs. I think Krebs probably the first guy that released it big time.
They have those
but
too.
I mean, we've had our own versions of the little doodad, but it definitely helps.
Yeah. There are some internal things that you can do too to make disassembly easier in the future after you've disassembled it once. What's that called?
Or a pin retainer plate would be a generic
Pin retainer
word.
plate. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yep.
We still use the Tromic shepherd's hooks. By far, still my favorite.
Yeah, we were using Krebs plates, and I've had a few customers put them back in wrong when they went to fiddle with the safety.
Oh, shit.
And so we use shepherd's crooks now, and I'm sure that there's some people, some nerds out there like me that want to jack with their gun and curse me when they try to get the shepherd's crook out, but it is for a safety reason. And yep, you can put a pin plate in there, just understand what you're doing and do a safety check afterwards after the thing's fully installed. Press pretty darn hard on the skinny side of the pin, the way that it goes out, and make sure that those pins are still retained. That is something as a real noob I screwed up once, and it can cause an ND. So do beware there. And polishing triggers, my favorite way to polish a trigger is to shoot the gun, and that trigger is going to polish itself really nicely. And yeah, like what Joe said, a nice grip. If you really want a red dot on there, the Ultimac is a good solution that is generally installable by people of decent handy skills. It can, depending on the profile of the barrel, it can screw the gas system, not break it, but it won't cycle well. And so there's occasionally some shimming that needs to be done on them, but that's a decent upgrade that doesn't require gunsmithing exactly. It's sort of just below the level if you're handy of requiring a gunsmith. Who is it? XS makes a front sight that is tritium for the AK, and that's a pretty nice little tweak you can do with minimal involvement. But mostly what Joe said, run the heck out of it, and when you figure out that
ammo and mags.
Ammo and mags, and a lot dry practice is a really big deal, especially with ammo being as expensive as it is. And you might want to wear some earplugs while you're dry practicing, because that, oddly enough, running that action close to your ear over time can cause a little bit of hearing damage. And so being conscious of that would be a good thing.
118 to 120 dB.
Just the hammer hitting the pin.
Just the bolt flying forward.
Wow.
Yeah. The sound's actually dampened a bit when it picks up a bullet and goes forward.
Yeah, it's when
everything Brian said are mods that I recommend. We keep Ultimax in stock. We install probably 2 a week. Every AK I own, which is the reason why this one doesn't have a gas tube, because I had an Ultimac at one time and I pulled it off to put it on something that I was actually shooting. The trick about the Ultimac is, remember, if it's a 74 or any of the 74 size profiles, you'll need shims. And whenever you put it on, don't let the tube touch anything. Don't let it touch in the front. Don't let it touch in the rear. You want it to completely float on the barrel. If you do that, you have about a 95% chance of not dragging on the piston or imparting any weird pressures on the barrel, the Ultimac, or the sight.
Very good.
The Ultimac is a terrific, very simple, easy to install sight mechanism. Pretty low to the bore axis, about as low as you can get. But remember, put a good quality red dot on it because it gets hot up there.
Good tips. Let's go to Facebook now. Let's get some questions on Facebook. First one is from Aura Abplanab. Abplanalp. ABPLANALP.
Not ISIS.
It's more of a Swiss name, I think, or German. He says, curious on your thought of traditional style AK optics on modern platforms. Examples like the OKP-7, the PK, a red dot, etc., with the integrated sight mounts, as opposed to running more modern setups with different mounting options. Getting ready to set up a new PSAK and was intrigued by the traditional options. Also, if you read my question on the podcast, bonus points for anyone who can pronounce my name correctly. Okay, I think I may have
Apparently, no
gotten
bonus points are given today.
Now I'm intrigued. Marty, can you paste his name into our chat here?
Yeah, it's Abplanalp is what it is.
That's really helpful, Marty. Would you mind pasting it into
But
the
I
chat?
said it. I just said it right. It's
Oh, I
right.
just realized the chat had the picture of that Vepper.
I just said that like an hour ago. Welcome to the conversation.
I knew what it was when he said it, but now I'm looking at the picture. Yeah, that's a nice Vepper.
I'm going to go with.
I'm not seeing it, but whatever. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play on his name here, Abplanalp.
I'm going to say Abplanalp.
Okay, that'll work.
Abplanalp.
So side mounts on AKs was the question.
Joe,
yeah?
you want to go? You want to take a stab at that name?
Abplanalp. I'm not going there.
Charles?
Can't do it.
I'm going to go Oblino.
I've got one of the worst, like the hardest names to pronounce that I've ever seen, but that's like that one.
He wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a made-up name when I first saw it. But.
Too many consonants.
Yeah.
So what was his question? I don't even remember.
Side mounts on AKs.
Okay.
It has to have a Russian Cobra attached to said side mount. Other than that, no.
Any other feedback? Anybody else want to take that? And we go to the next question.
Yeah, I don't like the side mounts personally. That's just, personal preference. There's all the different variants and whatever. I prefer the gas tube mounts vastly more.
I used one of Brian's rear sight towers on a Palmetto State AK, and it works great.
Obviously I'm in the optics mount business, so if I thought side mounts were a good thing, I'd be building one. But there are lots of people that love them and have good results with them. And I do not personally know the gentleman that runs RS Regulate, but I hear from friends of mine that he's a really good person and makes a high quality product. And so that's through the grapevine. That's who I hear about when it comes to side mounts. I know Midwest makes one. I haven't shot it personally, but Midwest also makes very fine products.
Yeah, the RS Regulate, if you have to put a side mount, it's a good way and probably the only way to put a small scope that I would recommend on AK. But the side mount was designed for things that we don't really use anymore.
Yeah.
Save for, I really do like the Russian Cobra optic, but those things are, I haven't bought one or really looked at the price in probably 5 years, and then they were approaching $700. But I'm a big fan of side folder guns, and you can't use your side folder option with a side mount.
Good point.
So you get a lot of negatives for not a lot of pluses.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the next question. There's several optics questions on here. Jerry Black says, which silencer works best and lasts longer with AK? I think we answered that.
Is AK.
Ackless.
Saber 60.
Follow-up is the ODS a better choice with a silencer? Is it a cleaner running firearm than a traditional AK?
Let's see. I think, all guns get dirty, and it really depends on what ammo you're using as to how dirty it gets, how quickly. But I'll tell you that for my personal guns, if I clean my AK once a year, it's an exception. A couple times a year maybe. And my general procedure is to just wipe the gunk out of the action and add more grease. And that is typically all they really need to keep going. Occasionally, I will give a deeper clean, but the way that the gun is designed, when the gunk starts building up, it gets sloughed off. And so as long as you keep them wet, they tend to clean themselves. For running suppressed, all of our guns, every single gun that we've made, I have a photo of the suppressor alignment for that gun. We check every single one of them, and it goes in an electronic traveler. Rifle Dynamics also sells guns that are suppressor ready. And so there are numerous other companies, M13, lots of folks sell suppressor ready AKs for those that were not specifically designed for a can. They can be made and aligned to work with an ACLS or something like that, but you wouldn't just want to go and get a 14-1 left suppressor adapter and screw a can on and rock and roll. You really want a suppressor alignment gauge, which is just a very, very straight precision ground rod that shows you what the path of the bullet will be. And I recommend those very highly. The Dead Air Wolverine has a conical flight path for the bullet, and so it can work with poorly aligned guns. But if you're going to wait a year and all that, $70 for a Geisley alignment rod is, I think, a very small price to pay. I don't like to say that our guns are better or worse than others, because for some folks, like what Joe said, I completely agree that the Wasser is as good a value as our gun. And for somebody that is, just starting out, get a Wasser, shoot the heck out of it, and that's a great gun for that budget. Our gun is a totally different animal. And the people, I don't have to advertise our guns anymore, because when people shoot them, they want to buy them. And so that's, for when you're ready for it, we're a great option, but I wouldn't say we're better or worse than anybody else.
I think a lot of the dirty and suppressor and AK questions kind of come about to the original thing that I alluded to when we started. Mm-hmm. We're going to get that little bit of a cold snap. I know Brian laughed when I told him it's going to get down to like 16 degrees. Like, that's like, that's fall weather for us. But the AK was developed to run in below zero conditions. To do that reliably, the gun is self-regulating, and on this window of how it operates, to get enough gas with powder that cold and around that cold, you have to have a much larger gas port than at higher temperatures. So in regular temperatures, the gas port is much, much larger than it needs to be. But that's so it can operate at those super adverse conditions under super cold stuff. So you end up with a lot of gas and a lot of carbon out there. Two, the rounds are very inexpensively and cheaply made, so they have a tendency to be really dirty too. And then adding a suppressor, of course, is going to exacerbate that. Unless you're running your gun in the polar ice caps or down here in Louisiana when it gets 16 degrees, you can probably get away with a bit smaller gas port, which is going to give you better sound performance, way less bolt velocity. It's going to stay closed a little bit longer and run better. And I have a feeling that's a lot of how Brian's guns run as smooth and as well as they do. I'm pretty sure Brian's not using the AK spec gas port size.
You are exactly correct. And yeah, that is why our guns run so well with cans. We're not the only company to do that. But yeah, you don't need, that gun, the reason the trigger guard is so big on an AK is so that you can run them with lobster mitts on, with the glove that's a mitten. And Joe's exactly right on that. They were spec'd to run down at -45 Fahrenheit or Celsius. It happens to be the same thing down there, which is friggin' cold. And down there, like exothermic reactions, like a gun going off, are highly dependent on the initial starting temperature that they're at. And so this is why it is a really dangerous thing to leave your ammo out in the sun, especially if you're in Texas or Nevada or something. You're going to get a way different result because the powder and the ammo starts so much hotter. And conversely, down in the cold, you get much lower velocities.
Yeah. Are you guys on Facebook or Instagram right now? Looking at these questions?
I can be in almost immediateness.
Okay. Log on to there. Look at some questions you'd like to field because I'm not going to read them all.
On Leadhead?
On
Talking Lead?
Yeah, on Talking Lead under that post that I did with the Meaux guns.
I kind of like all of them are great questions.
I know. Some of them we've already kind of answered, though, too. So
yeah.
Amanda. Did you see Amanda down there?
Yep, Amanda.
She was on a few episodes ago. I had her on.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. She's kind of a regular now.
Sam Russell. Integrally suppressed. Got the updates. Did that. I saw the...
But he mentions Alumni Weekend.
Brad Reynolds one. That's a great question.
The Reynolds one?
Yeah, Brad Reynolds.
Okay. Yeah, the buttstock one, I was going to read that one, too.
You want me to read that one?
Yeah, so we'll let Joe take the next question from Facebook here. Joe, what do you got?
All right, so I think this is probably one of the foundation questions that you have to ask yourself when you're looking at AKs. Brad Reynolds post, what is your preferred stock on an AK? Fixed, side folder, under folder, etc. The correct answer is Q, all of the above. But I really, really like the poly side folders, the left side folders. You get a really good lockup. You get a real stock. Of course, I do like the Warsaw length because I'm a kind of a smaller guy. I like to run in a little bit. So when I build a gun, it typically has a poly side folder on Ultimac up front and the Meaux grip. That's what my AKs look like. So if I had to pick one, I'd say a left side folder.
Now, what is the Meaux grip?
It's the original. It's one of the original Meaux grips. I don't know.
Meaux. Okay, I thought you said
it's the arsenal that kind of created.
Yeah. I thought it was a play on your name, Meaux Lock.
Oh,
I thought you came up with your own grip.
It's a real thing.
I need to do that.
Right.
We had to
I like the Meaux grip when you can find them. They're really, really hard to find these days.
We had to translate from Cajun, Joe.
Brian,
I like triangle side folders, but that's just because they fit me better.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of personal preference. I have my guns in underfolder, but it was a gift from the guys that built me out in the shop, and so I'll never get rid of it. And I can run it and shoot it.
Speaking of side folders, Brian's got a new side folder.
Yeah, and Charles, I should send one along with Joe's gun, especially if you're going to SBR it. It uses the SIG hinge, and it is patterned after the triangle side folder, which I love as well. Fits me great. And Joe will like the Warsaw length on it, which I recently educated myself on. I know I'm horribly late in doing that, but Warsaw and NATO always confuse. I never saw a clean explanation, but basically the NATO is about 1.25 inches longer, as I understand it now. And we did the 8-inch Warsaw length, and it's a billet aluminum triangle with a bunch of sling attachment points, which is the big problem that I have with traditional triangle side folders and the way they're set up. And so we put a sling QD a couple inches. Yep, there's a Gen 1 fixed version that Marty is showing. But that QD point that's a couple inches back there does a bunch of great things for switch hand manipulations and also just staying out of your way, but working.
I really like it. And it incorporates one of my most favoriteest engineering structures ever devised by non-human things, and we now copy it.
The Hex?
The Hex Honeycomb Pattern. The only pattern you can build a structure with and have no wasted space.
I got to think about that.
There's nothing else that has that you can do as many things with and not have wasted space.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it is. And have you guys ever kept bees or been around a hive?
Yeah, my parents did. My dad did a long, long time ago, and I want to start doing it, and that's something me and my wife have been talking about. I actually have had I forget the style hive, the old school French hive from the 1700s.
Like
I've
a
got
top
one
bar,
that.
you mean?
Which one?
A top bar?
Yeah, well, there's a French name or an old school name for it. But anyway, I've had 2 of them in my Amazon cart for about 8 months now. I just haven't pulled the trigger on them yet.
Understood. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I did it for a few years, and watching bees build honeycomb is so much fun. And for you guys who have kids out there, doing it with your kids is pretty great. They sell little bee suits that will have them all protected, and really good thing to do with your kids, especially the harvesting honey with children is super, super fun.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the first things my dad taught me is bees. They're
how did we get talking about bees?
Bees do not want to die. They're programmed to not want to die. So they're actually really non-aggressive little critters. So if you take care and you don't squish anybody and release the oh shit, buddy just got squished pheromones, you can actually get away with some minimal protection.
Yep. If you know what you're doing. Yep. If you don't, it's a short.
The bees.
Yeah. They eventually gave me the message that I was an asshole, and so yeah, Marty's giving us the wrap it up symbol. So let's move
let's
on.
wrap up the bee talk here.
Side folders, yes, we love side folders.
Side folders, there you go. Side folders and bees. Trails. So, Charles, did you go through those questions?
I have not.
Charlie's having some technological
issues. Like I went. So
I'm going to read.
Just pick one. Pick one, Lefty.
I'm
going to pick one for Charlie.
I'm going to pick Jeff Hornsby. It says, "Is that Joe Meaux, formerly of Red Jacket Firearms, Sons of Guns?" ?
Yes. Charlie.
Yes.
That's that guy, right? Hey, look, it's Joe. It's that guy.
It's that guy. He's so familiar. I had to read that one. It was funny. All right, pick yours, Joe. For Charlie.
Pick one.
For Charlie? Brian.
Oh, I got to pick one for Charlie?
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing a 22, and I bumped over to Instagram, but I hadn't found Talking Lead on Instagram yet.
Well, it's just under Talking Lead.
Well, I got to do a search. It takes me a little while.
Are you not liking my Talking Lead channel?
I just had to type in the name to go to it.
We got a good one there.
All right.
How about this one from Peter Wiktorski here?
Okay, read that one, Brian, while he's looking.
What type of optic do you prefer to run on your AK? Are there any LPVO, which is low power variable optic, with a BDC? That's a bullet drop compensation reticle that will work for the 7.62-39, or should I just go with a simple dot? And I would humbly submit that that's one of the cool things about the Merc handguard that we sell is that you can do both. We've got a really long chunk of pick that you can kind of do whatever you want with. And I have personally been shooting the primary arms ACSS 1-to-6 power. Actually, that's what I we accuracy check all of our guns before they go out the door. And for those that don't order sights with us, I slap that primary arms on there and routinely get 2 bullets in one hole at 50 yards with it. It's really nice. It does have a BDC, which is, it calls out in meters where you need to aim, how much holdover you need when you start getting out at distance.
They've got a couple of 7.62 scopes.
You're correct. They have a first focal plane and a second focal plane in that 1-to-6 power. And they've got I believe they have a lifetime warranty on them.
I think they got a fixed 3 power too, don't they?
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Well, in the 1-to-6, they got both. I know that much. And both of them have a BDC that works with either 7.62-39 or 300 blackout. It's roughly the same ballistic curve. Mm-hmm. I really like it. If I had bad eyesight for longer distances, I would absolutely be using it. In a tactical setup. when it comes to a straight running and gunning kind of thing, any of the good Aimpoint Micro clones, I'm good to go with. The Holosun I've had good luck with. I've heard of people having troubles lately with them, but at $200, it's hard to complain. Of course, the Aimpoints are a great value. It's the same thing as what Joe was saying. You can buy a $600 or $800 Aimpoint and with a 10-year warranty, or you can get a Holosun and at $200, and I think they have a good warranty on them too. But let's say the thing lasts 2 years, you're paying the same dollar per year. It's just, what can you pay? Let's see, my typical feeling on running an LPVO is that if you're doing it for a tactical reason and you don't have some funny eyesight problem, to me the AK is a 0 to 100, 200 yard fighting gun at the most. And if I am ever in a real world firefight where there are people outside of 200 yards that are shooting at me, I really hope I have a guy with a bolt gun to my left and a belt fed to my right. And so I don't, even though we care a lot about the accuracy of our guns, they're not sniper rifles. That's not the job of 7.62 39. It's an intermediate cartridge for assaulters, and that's it. And so there's better options out at distance from a ballistic standpoint.
Yep, definitely. But it's a damn good hunting rifle.
Yeah, I was going to mention the same exact optic. The 1-6 with the ACCS 300 blackout reticle is there. The problem is they're always out of stock.
Yeah. Yep, they are. Did you find one? Go ahead, Charles.
My AK is, optics are great and all, but my AK is not set up for that. My AK is a grab and run and keep it simple, stupid. I run irons on my primary AK. If I had something else to use that I would worry about putting an optic on it. But if you have just one AK, I'm going to keep it simple.
Heck yeah.
Yep. Keep it simple, stupid. Instagram, Joe, did you find one on Instagram?
I got distracted. Let's see. Complaining about the SKS. I see an M79.
Hold on. How can somebody complain about the SKS?
They're complaining
let Charlie handle that.
There's start off. I worked at a crime lab for 21 years. I was handed a lot of SKSs with runaway issues. That's number one. Number two, they all come in with the detachable long nose magazine, and I had 2 customers within the last week come in with those things, and I'm like, take it off the gun and throw this as far away from this rifle as you could get it, and put the box magazine back on. The guy's like, what? Like, he would keep asking me questions. Do you stock these? And I'm like, no. Throw it away. He's like, but I want another one. I'm like, I didn't throw them out of the store, but I was like, don't put this back on your gun. So I had to explain to him how to use a stripper clip. Like, we had some that were packed in cotton. We went in the back, cleaned them up for the guy. It's like, here, you can load this faster than you'll ever be able to load this long nose thing. Throw it in the dumpster. That's just a... Then and the people modify them, leave them alone, put them in the back of the closet, shoot them. Don't touch them. Make sure the spring isn't going to. There's a spring in the firing pin where it's not going to lock it and going to make a runaway gun out of it.
We totally agree on, if you keep your SKS and SKS, they're great guns, right? And well, I'm curious about the runaway issues. How many of those do you think were intentional?
Actually, not many. If any of them were not intentional guns, like literally, it was the runaway malfunction Chinese guns. Never saw it on a Yugo. Never saw it on a Russian. The Chinese guns eventually do wear themselves into a runaway configuration. It's what happens. I've seen it over and over and over again.
Okay, that's good to know.
I've seen it, and it happens. I do not load an SKS unless I'm pointing at a target until I put a fixed pin in it. That's the one thing you have to know about an SKS.
Yeah. Now,
no matter how well you clean the firing pin channel, even if you get all the Cosmoline out, there's still risk of that firing pin sticking forward. So
use Ballistol on them, Joe. Ballistol.
No, we don't use Ballistol on anything. I'm convinced that Dennis was trying to get me to fire that guy immediately, like instantly. There's a no ballistol rule in my shop. The new guy, the second day I come in, he's basically on clean the gun duty. And the second I walked in, the door was about 6 inches open, and the smell hit me of the ballistol. And I just yelled out, like, in probably not quite so family-friendly language, "Who is using that damn ballistol? Get it out of my building immediately." And I saw this kid's eyes kind of grow. And he's like, "Is that what this is?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what that is."
We need to get you some Seal 1.
Oh, so we got a good question from Tandem Dooley here. He says, okay, so if the AK historically is overgassed to increase reliability, what are the issues and parts that will be the biggest issue from the added back pressure of running them suppressed? That we could combo that with another question. I missed who it was from, about asking if K&S adjustable gas pistons are a good product if you're running suppressed.
Yeah, I mean, the gas piston's really the AK self-regulating, even over-gassed, they really don't beat themselves up that bad. They just dump more gas faster. I mean, you can build some bolt velocity or some banging around in there, but the K&S gas piston does help tremendously if you are in one of those extreme areas. But those gases are still coming out of that gas port.
Sinister Fist asks, if you were only allowed one upgrade to an AKM, which would you choose to make it even more battle ready?
Who's answering that?
Everybody.
Bullets, mags, and a good pistol grip.
That's 3. He said 1.
Pistol grip.
Pistol grip.
Brian?
Dang. I would say a light, because so you can use it at night.
That's a general rifle thing anyway, yeah.
Sure, that's not exactly a fair way of me answering it, but if we're not talking about a light and a sight, or a light and a sling, then what Joe said, for sure, just buy more ammo, get training.
Sling.
I like the first
sling.
Question on Instagram, FPS Murdoch. Because I saw that one, I'm trying to answer it.
I was saving
myself.
it for last, but go ahead.
Oh,
no.
I really like the Chinese flatbacks. They're my favorite magazine.
Well, read
ever.
the question. FPS Murdoch.
Okay, yep. All right, so I think this is my favorite question here because I don't know the answer to it, but it's a really good concept. So FPS Murdoch asks, why did China make their steel AK magazines flatbacks, while other countries went to the rib design? Do you think this makes the Chinese steel mag superior? The Chinese flatbacks are absolutely more comfortable for me to run. They are easier to get in and out of chest rigs and pockets and things. Now, they're also a little bit lighter. I really like the full stamp Chinese mags that don't have the reinforced lips because they run really well and they're super lightweight and they're still steel. Why they're flatbacks, I can only speculate that the Chinese developed this they had better equipment for it, or the Chinese guys' hands are smaller, or they wanted to save material. I don't know. But I do know I like the Chinese flatbacks, and if I had the choice to run any steel surplus mags, it would be the Chinese flatbacks with the stainless or the chrome line followers.
It probably fit a pocket that was designed for something else better.
I don't know, but
That's
I do like the Chinese flatbacks. They are commanding quite a premium these days.
Whew.
I love Joe's comment on smaller hands there as a motivating factor. I have no idea what the actual reason is.
Me either.
But that makes a ton of sense, and I know a lot of folks who struggle with the size of the AK mag, and particularly with admin reloads where you're grabbing 2 mags in one hand. That's tricky for a lot of people to pull off with real control where they know it will work. And so that makes good sense. But yeah, obviously spot welding those 2 halves of the magazine together it's clearly easier to spot weld a rib than it is those flatbacks. And so Joe's comment on better equipment and tooling makes a lot of sense as well.
I'll buy that.
Those of you that don't like your flatbacks, I will trade you out.
Some Magpuls for
Those ribs are sharp, and they're pain. I don't like the ribs.
All right, that's a good question to end our listener questions on there. There's several more. Thank you to everyone who sent your comments, your questions in on Facebook, email, Instagram. And because you did that, as you consummate listeners know, that's how you get entered to win our giveaways, is participation. So for all those that participated today, I'm going to assign a number, and then we're going to do a drawing for the Seal 1 package and the Mission First Tactical AK Corner dump tray. So we've got Ed Burton is number 1, Kenneth H. McGee is number 2, Brad Reynolds is number 3, Peter Wiktorski is number 4, Ray O'Shields is number 5, Sam Russell is number 6, Jonathan Gallup is number 7, Jerry Black is number 8, Aura Abplanalp is number 9, Jeff Hornsby's 10, Andy Berner is number 11, 12 is the Grunge Junkie, 13 is Sinister Fist, 14 is Casey Loftus, 15 is Tandem Dooley, 16 is J. Edgar Paradox, 17 is FPS Murdoch, 18 is Brett Badow, 19 Stephen Morgan, and 20 is Morton L.B. Sorensen. And if you're not in the United States, then you're not eligible. So,
sorry, Amanda.
Just putting that in, and Amanda, I'm sure we can hook her up with some stuff anyway. So, she's probably not hurting for swag and stuff. Oh, she just was awarded some big honorary award up there in Canada too.
She is always getting awarded with stuff. She is killing it these days.
Yeah, she's doing really good. I have to get her on to talk about that. All right, who's got the random number generator?
I got it up.
All right, so first one is going to be for the dump tray from Mission First Tactical, AK Corner logo dump tray. You can see it back there in the background somewhere.
Oh, I see it.
On my shelf.
See it.
Yeah.
I seen it.
Brian, what do we got?
Number 3.
Number 3. Brad Reynolds. Look at the big brain on Brad. So, Brad, shoot me an email, talkingled@gmail.com with your shipping address, contact info. We'll get that to you. And the next prize is coming from our sponsors over at Seal 1. And lucky enough for our guest today, you're all going to be getting some Seal 1 also. So, Charles, Joe, Brian, you're all going to get a package from Seal 1 as well.
Can't wait to try it. That'll be awesome.
So you're all winners. So Seal 1 is a clean lube protect all-in-one. It's green engineered, USDA certified, bio-based products. So one product will clean, lube, and protect instead of having to use all different little formulas and products. And it comes in several different delivery systems. So there's an aerosol, there's a paste, there's little cleaning pads that it comes in. Several different delivery methods for your Seal 1 product there. Made in the USA. They do it there in Maine. It's using all green engineered products. And yeah, there you go. So who's our winner for our Seal 1 package? 16. J. Edgar Paradox. There you go. There's our 2 winners. Shoot me an email, talkingled@gmail.com, and we'll hook you up with those prizes, lead heads. But every episode, we're giving away something. You never know what it's going to be. Could be a gun. Could be ammo. Could be who knows what. You just never know. Got to listen, got to participate, and that's how you win. But again, thanks to everybody who participated with that. If you've got suggestions for the show, guests, topics, something you'd like us to talk about, shoot me an email, talkinglead@gmail.com. Put AK Corner suggestions in the topics so I'll know how to easily categorize that and find it later on. And then, of course, our regular show, make sure you listen to that. If you've got jack wagons, you've got heroes that you want to nominate, we've got Jack Carr, Brian, scheduled for April.
No kidding.
Jack Carr's coming back, his second appearance. He's got a new book coming out in that series with his, what's the
James Reese.
James Reese.
Yeah, The Devil's Hand, I believe, is the name of it. I've had it on pre-order for a while. I'm jonesing.
I'm going to have it before you because they're sending me a free copy.
Dirty bastard.
A pre-release copy, so I get to read that before he gets to be on the show.
He's a left hand of the devil. He gets it first.
Right.
Charlie's got a good pre-release book coming too.
Oh yeah, what is?
Well, I've got the electronic copy. Did you get one?
I didn't get the electronic copy yet.
Okay. Well, we're getting the autographed copy sent to the shop.
All right.
Is this an inside joke?
Kinda.
You gonna let everybody in on this?
We've got some good friends in an alternative industry.
One of them wrote his memoirs about what he did in a very adult industry.
Is this the ammo company guy that used to own the ammo company?
No, you got to give him the title. Just give him the title and it'll make all sense.
Memoirs of a B-list porn star.
Well, you got that's not the whole title. The title is Dick Chibbles.
Dick Chibble.
Memoirs of a B-list porn star.
Okay. Maybe I should have him on the show. I get him on the regular show.
Down for it.
I get him on the regular show. Hell yeah.
He's very interesting. He's one of the nicest guys we've ever met. Super cool dude, man.
Likes AKs.
If you want him on the show, I'll send him an email and send your contact over and see if he wants to do it. It'd be an interesting show for sure. He's an interesting cat, man.
All right, well, one of y'all got to co-host with me though.
We can. Me and Joe. We've been friends with the guy for a while. What do you and that gun?
I picked it up today.
What are you looking at? I didn't even see it. Hold on. Oh, is that what is that?
It's a Remington model number 4.
Wow.
All right, so Remington
cool,
made the number 1 as a 45-70 single shot rifle. Remington made the model number 2, the single shot 12 gauge shotgun. Remington made the model number 3. It's a typewriter.
A typewriter?
And then this is the Remington model number 4, a single shot 22.
It went from a typewriter to a 22.
They went from a buffalo gun to a shotgun to a typewriter to this.
Oh,
anyway, I picked up. So this is my ranch gun.
Nice.
I carry around when we go for the walks, and I got tired of carrying it around, and then still have to pick stuff up and hold the leash. So I wanted to get a sling on it, but I didn't want to modify it, so I had a local leather guy do this.
Oh, that's
beautiful
nice.
work.
It looks
He did
good.
a really good job. But the actual reason I had this up is because it was in the way to take this down.
Joe's showing off his toys.
Well, Brian, can the Merc rail fit this? And should I put it on it?
No. You're
What? Tell them what you're holding up. RPK?
It's an RPK, an original RPK kit with an original uncut barrel.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous gun. Joe's just fucking with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That's
Send pictures of that too so I can post that with the show notes.
I think we built that. I think Joe and I built that gun.
I think we built this probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Man.
I reacquired this at a gun show about 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
No kidding.
This is when NDS was allowing you to do matching serial numbers to the trunnion.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I saw that, and I'm like, I had to have it.
That's a great recapture. Yeah, no doubt.
I don't have access to the old book, so I can't confirm 100%. But it has everything, all the little cues and indicators that it's one of our guns.
Nice.
A craftsman always recognizes his own work.
Well, I think there's a lot of. There might be some Wallace or there might be some Winford in that gun.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Well, congratulations to our winners, and again, go and show love to all our sponsors. Mission First Tactical. Be sure to use that code at Mission First Tactical, which is Leadhead, and you're going to get 20% off when you use that discount code there. Seal One, big thanks to Seal One. They got the new Leadhead code set up there. You're going to get 25% off at Seal One. Go to their website. Factory 47, you get our AK Corner swag, our hoodies, our T-shirts, our tumblers. They had a code set up there for 10% off. It's Leadhead, 10% off at Factory 47. Use code Leadhead. IWIUS, go show them some love on their social medias. Follow them. You guys know the Uzi guy, right? So we're gonna get the Uzi guy on. We're gonna talk about that one at AK Corner. That's gonna be awesome. And then Auckland Defense Solutions. Go get in line. Well, you're not doing lines anymore. It's just first come, first serve, right? On the 1775s.
Yeah, we've never shut down custom orders. So if they start at 2,500, if you absolutely got to have one. Otherwise, yep, we're posting on Instagram when we've got some availability. But you're always welcome to email us at the website or at the email address on our website, and we've started doing a bit of a wait list kind of thing via email. So that is another way to go. But yeah, pretty much they get sold really darn quick right now. So I apologize for not being able to make more of them. We're trying hard to fix that.
And Joe and Charlie,
but nonetheless.
Joe and Charlie, talk about Atlas Defense, all your websites and social medias and all that, where people get in touch with you and your latest and where they can get it.
Well, check out atlasdefense.com. The website there has links to all of our social media on Instagram, several different Facebooks, and Twitter. Check out our future-proof line of suppressors, some of the quietest, lightest, easy-to-use and maintain suppressors that have ever been available to the industry.
And if you're in South Louisiana, swing by Meaux Guns. That's our gun shop, their storefront. Come by and see me and Joe. We're there most days. We have a full selection of firearms and ammunition, and we'll be happy to have us be your new gun store.
And again, make sure you go and show Zach some love and support on the PayPal account, which I'll put a link to in our show notes for the show here. And then the GoFundMe is, if you go to the GoFundMe website and you look up Zach Hall Stage 4 Cancer, is that what it is?
Stage 4 colon cancer.
Stage 4 colon cancer. You'll find his link there. His wife Stephanie set that up. So you'll see Stephanie's name there, and you'll know you're at the right place. All you got to
do is just Google GoFundMe Zach Hall, and it's the first three hits.
Okay.
And the
PayPal.
All right, so for the GoFundMe, just Google GoFundMe Zach Hall, and it'll bring you right to there. It's the first top 3 links. All right, so Zach can also be helped out by going and sending funds to the PayPal. The PayPal and Venmo is sxb1623@gmail.com. Sierra X-Ray Bravo 1623@gmail.com.
Very good. Show him the Leadhead Brigade is behind him, and we need to keep Zach around. Definitely, he's one of the most innovative in the industry. We love you, Zach. Leadheads, until the next episode of the AK Corner, get out there and train, and come join us in Nashville. If you get an opportunity, go to 212traininggroup.com and sign up.
Outtakes.
Somebody behind you there.
That's my wife. She's looking for me an extension cord because this thing's trying to die.
Oh, I got you. So make sure they weren't beckoning you. Yeah.
No.
All right, I have to know.
Beckoning.
Beckoning. There you go.
Yep.
Very good. So I'm getting an echo from somebody. Somebody's too loud. Check. Hello.
I'll mute here for a second.
Okay. Check. 1 2 1 2. Check. Lefty. Check. Yeah, that was it.
Brian, you're the culprit.
Let me see if I can turn my gain down here.
Charlie,
Check.
unmute.
How's that, Marty? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you good. I'm
Great.
not hearing the feedback now.
You've
Great.
permanently muted Charlie.
He can unmute himself. Unmute yourself. Just hit unmute.
Charlie.
He can still hear us, though. I just
Yeah.
muted him. Unless all the stuff he was doing jacked up his Skype.
There, I'm back. Okay, there we go.
Yay.
Yay.
I thought Marty had to unmute me. My apologies. This thing was trying to die. I had to plug it in.
No, that's fine. You were making a lot of noise, so I muted you.
Sorry, Brian. Didn't mean to cut into your story.
Nah, you're good.
I think he just finished it, huh?
I just said fuck Brian and his story. I got other shit to do.
Yeah. I'm not coming to Ackles this weekend to shoot AKs. I'm not doing it. I'm staying inside.
But I'm going to take a pee break. If y'all need to take a pee break, do that.
Yeah.
We're going to come back, field those questions, do the giveaway, and then we'll do the wrap-up.
All right. I really enjoyed that picture.
Oh, I did too. I thought it was awesome, but I've had some comments on it. So
Well,
look at the one I did on Instagram too.
How is it racist? The dude introduces himself as Asian Will.
he's a Chinese guy playing a Vietnamese guy.
He's going to let me throw him out of a helicopter.
I like Brad Reynolds' question. Where did everybody go?
They went to pee.
Oh.
Ugh.
No, I didn't think it was racist at all. I thought it was racially accurate.
The dude introduces himself as Asian Will. That's what he calls.
Granted, that's so he's not confused with the other Will when we say, "Hey, Will's back there."
Oh.
Well, that's fine and well and good, but that's how he introduced himself the first time I met him.
People are just, I think it's just a bunch of trolls anyway. I did notice that I lost about 200 followers after I posted that, but.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, well. That's not the kind of followers I want.